small business owner, have a couple people that work for me. And what I see is that there's a lot of, I don't want to say unfair advantage, but I think that's what it is. So you look at like carried interest for money managers taxed at capital gain rates, but any profits from my business are taxed at our marginal income tax rate, right, which is 3 times. Then there's moral hazard. So the investment bankers screw up, and their bonuses are smaller, but they still get their job. If I screw up, they take my house because that's part of the personal guarantee for any loans that I have, right? And then you look at special interest groups that are able to game the system to leverage things. So whether it's like SBIR or whatever the program is, I don't have that same ability to hire lobbyists to be able to get my products and my services preferential treatment. In fact, as a white guy, I can't apply for any of the small disadvantaged business type programs that are out there. Even though my products or my service might be better, I'm automatically excluded. Then you look at like transfer payments. So like unemployment insurance, I think we need to have a safety gap. But right now my unemployment insurance premiums are about $2,000 per FTE per year. And it's been that way for 4 years. Mm-hmm. It's a drag, obviously. And then I guess the last thing is kind of the insiders club. So you look at Congress, who's exempt from insider trading, yet if I know insider information about one of my customers because I happen to know what's going on, I can go to jail for a long time if I trade on that. So I guess what I'm asking is, as a Massachusetts employer, what do I need to do to get my voice heard? And what do I need to do from a tactical standpoint today to make changes so that we all have a level playing field?
Great question. Thank you. Yes.
I'm sympathetic, and I don't think that much of what you're saying is wrong. In fact, there's a whole list of things you didn't say that would add to the regulatory burden and that would add to the cost structure of being a small startup employer in this state and in many other states. It is a very tough road to hoe. And the reality is that, I forget the numbers, it used to be 1 in 7 startups survives the first year. Of those, 1 in 4 makes it to 5 years. And of those, something like 1 in 20 makes it to 100 million in sales. And of that, 1 out of 10 makes it to $1 billion. So the statistics are daunting, and they've always been thus. They may be a little bit harder now. I do think that the regulatory burden, and I think for small businesses in particular, it has become a really, really difficult part of what we've got here. And I don't have the answer to that. I'm just very sympathetic to it. And I think it's one of the reasons, back to the point about venture capitalists, I think it's one of the reasons that there's been a huge professionalism influx into starting smaller companies, because the professionals are taking some of that risk and taking some of that structural impediment onto their balance sheets and spreading it amongst a bunch of investments as opposed to the individual who's trying to do it for themselves. I'm not saying it's right, but I do think it's a big disadvantage. And by the way, the rest of the world is going the other way. It's easier in China. It's become easier, believe it or not, in Europe than it's ever been to start companies. It's become easier in the rest of the world. What they don't have is the access to the capital markets and the financing systems, but even that's beginning to be a little bit, again, there's mechanisms for making that happen. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but I'm very sympathetic to it.
The only thing I'd add is I'm empathetic because I run a small business too, but I think the only solution to that is being members of organizations such as this, which can pull together those concerns, because you are enormously outnumbered, whether it's in the State House here or it's in Washington where it's even worse. I've been there, I can tell you. But it'd take you a scotch or two to get me to talk about it.